Hey everybody and welcome to Airing It Out. I'm Jonas and it's Jerry. And before I continue, let me remind you to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss out any of our videos. Films. It's only me and Jerry today because Josh is through in Edinburgh, so I thought it would make sense for me to talk a bit more about like the questions that were directed particularly at me. And before I do that, obviously also to talk about our film that will be coming in May, Getting By, and also I guess in the same respect more about what I specifically did as a director of the film. And what I would like to talk about there is kind of how I went about from the finished script to what we ended up doing on during our shoots. So the process of figuring out what to shoot in the end, because obviously a script is only a piece of paper and it doesn't tell you what angles to shoot from, what kind of motion you want the camera to be doing, and all those kinds of things. Like it doesn't necessarily specify the location, obviously, unless it's very important that it is a specific kind of location. And yeah, so I guess what I would like to talk about is kind of how I got to make some of the decisions that I ended up making. Um, I guess when I read a script, I would like to have, uh, I guess, immediate, some kind of vision. So when I'm reading it, I want to imagine something that I then can translate into what the film is going to look like. And so going from the script to what I end up shooting, it is a matter of how I manage to get those images that are in my head also again onto paper, so I can then talk about them to the director of photography perhaps, or the actors, or that kind of stuff. And so working with a director of photography, a DOP, it is very important to go through stuff like storyboarding. So I did actually sketch out most of the scenes as as good as I could. They were horrible stick figure drawings, but at least it meant that we had something to actually pinpoint and talk about, as in like, I want my actors to be standing in this correlation, I don't know, this configurement, and so that would mean you can be shooting from these angles in order to get, let's say it's a scene with three people and I want to have shots of these two characters and a third character that is not important, is like outside the frame, or it's like over their shoulder. Yeah, those kinds of things is really, really helpful to do some storyboarding, even if it is only stick figures, but just to be like, yes, this is kind of what I am imagining. Is that possible? Does it make sense with what the characters are doing and talking about? Because that's when you get into visual storytelling as well. Visual storytelling in the sense of like, okay, the placing of the characters in the frame can make a huge difference, in terms of like, I guess, power dynamics. Like, are they in the forefront? Are they standing behind someone? Are we getting close-ups of just that one character and not any close-ups of the other characters? That's very important, and that's certainly something that we played around with for our film. Is like, we have one distinct main character that we want to focus on, even though there's most scenes are between our main character, Emma, and a homeless guy that shows her around, John. And so like to kind of make the distinction of like, oh, but we are following her. One thing that we decided to do was just go with more close-ups or like to be closer with the camera to her. And so like to develop that already in before shooting, in like while storyboarding, is, I think, was very helpful. Another thing that I did while storyboarding was I guess also thinking about where I want to shoot. So it was a parallel kind of development of finding locations, thinking about locations. And as we said previously, most of our locations are outside, in the city, just like open public spaces. And so I spent, I think, 2 days literally just walking around, biking through Glasgow, looking for locations that would fit like kind of the scenes, the scenery, and would lend themselves to the film. And what I did from there was, as soon as I had decided on the locations that I wanted to shoot on, I ended up drawing them as well. So I didn't just storyboard the scenes and like having visuals in my head on paper, but I also like drew out maps of the locations, like bird's eye view, so I could always go back to those sketches and be like, okay, they are walking down this street and then they hit this corner, that's where the shop is, or like that's where, I don't know what, stuff like that. And so I could incorporate that into the storyboarding to be like, okay, when they're walking like this, they stop like that, but one person like keeps on going, so we get that kind of motion and that kind of shot, those angles with the camera. So you really start to kind of form a choreography, really, with the actors and the camera. Just like, especially because we wanted to have a lot of scenes in motion and not just like talking heads, because most of them are with just two characters, and that can get very dull if it's just like stationary and you only have very, very limited options of like making an interesting shot. And so we decided to have a lot of scenes in motion, and also with a moving camera. And so you really have to figure out like what party moves, like when do the actors move, when does the camera move, and yeah, to be able to place that already before you start shooting is really invaluable, because the whole like process of rehearsing is something that you want to minimize while shooting a film. That's definitely something that is quite different to theater per se, because theater, there's a lot of rehearsing that goes on before you end up doing the show. In filming, you really don't want to be rehearsing a lot while on set, because that means so many crew members are just standing around waiting for you to get done, for them to like do their job, and for shooting to begin. And so knowing those kinds of things ahead of time is really, really important. One thing I do want to say about that, me sketching out maps and stuff, was actually very, very cool to have my director of photography, who was also called Jonas, on board. And this was amazing because I hadn't thought about it at all. He was like, okay, where's north? And I was like, why is that important to how I draw the map, or like how the characters move? But he asked that question because he was obviously interested in the lighting situation. Because that's, I guess he wasn't just a director of photography, he was also our only kind of lighting person. And so since we were shooting outside, we were very dependent on natural lighting, so sunlight. And that kind of meant like, okay, if we're shooting in a narrow street, we're going to have huge like shadows from the buildings during these times of day. But then other times we'll have lots of light coming in, because that's like right the direction of the street that the sun will be coming in from. Those things, I don't know, I wasn't aware of that at all, but it was quite amazing to think about that, to construct the, not just, I guess, the choreography around that, to be like, okay, maybe we want to be coming down a different side of the street to hit the corner. But it also very much influenced our shooting schedule. So scheduling when to shoot what on a certain day. So it does make sense, while scheduling, obviously, to pick one location and do everything in that location, so you're done with that before moving on to a different location. But while you are on that location, you could be shooting several things that are at different points in the script at different times of day. And so since you don't have to shoot chronologically, it does also really make sense to kind of figure out what kind of lighting situation you would need for what scene. So do we need to make it look like it is morning? Do we need to make it look like it is day, evening? Is it a golden hour or so when the sun is just setting? Those kinds of things. And yeah, that's, I don't know, it is quite difficult to then piece everything together, like trying to figure out when we can shoot what without having to, I don't know, maybe shoot something on one location, go travel to a different location and come back at a different time. That's something you absolutely don't want to do, because travel time is time that you're not spending on shooting, and so also something you want to minimize. But yeah, I think with the help of Jonas and my first AD, Leon, also great help in working that out. We got a really, really good schedule down, and I can say that with quite the certainty, because we got everything done on time, and we were even able to like have some kind of flexibility on the day to move things around. I think in a previous podcast we already mentioned that, like, on one day we were shooting and there was a like a gig going on like next door to our location, so we had to end shooting early, but the next day we could go back and manage to shoot all the things we had planned for that day and what was left over from the day before. And those kinds of things are only possible if you do have very good, like, a very good structure, organization to your shooting schedule overall. But that being said, that schedule changes all the time. So after every single day that we shot, we came home and discussed the shooting schedule for the next day, if it made sense, kind of if we still needed to change something, if, for example, we weren't able to do something, could we do it the next day, or maybe postpone it to another day. Those things are also very important to really work through every single day, before you send out the call sheets for the next day and tell everyone, like, this is what you need to prepare, because there's also nothing worse than, like, telling everyone to show up in one place and then the next morning being like, oh no, can we actually meet somewhere else? Or, like, to tell an actor to prepare these scenes and then the next day be like, oh, no, actually, could you learn the lines for this other scene that we do want to do instead? That's definitely something you don't want to do, because you're gonna start pissing people off. And yeah, just I don't know, as a courtesy, as a matter of having good energy, good vibes on set. I guess that organization is also very, very valuable for that. Right, that's all I'm gonna talk about that. If you do have any questions, make sure to comment or reach out on Facebook or other social media like Instagram and Twitter. Now I will start to talk about some of the questions that you have sent me. Yeah, the first one is actually quite interesting. It just says, what's it like to milk cows? I know this is directed at me because I have milked cows before. Um, I'm pretty sure Josh hasn't. This question, I guess, refers to my gap year that I took. Gap year. Um, and I spent 2 weeks, 3 weeks on a dairy farm, an organic dairy farm in New Zealand, working as a volunteer. And so you have to imagine my entire day was basically just constructed around milking cows twice a day for about 2.5 hours um, each. So basically working 5 hours per day, and that was kind of it. That was all that I had to do. So I spent a lot of time just like seeing nice rural parts of New Zealand as well. But milking the cows was actually, I don't know, it was very fun. I mean, I guess the only not so fun part was having to get up super early in the morning. I think we were up at like 5:30 in the morning, so we could start milking the cows at 6. Um, but yeah, I think once it was like just the first couple of days that I really had to force myself to go to bed early, so I could get up in the morning. Um, but yeah, I mean, also the fact is like you get up early, you work for like 2.5 hours, and then you can go to bed and sleep for another whatever how long you need, because the next time you have to work is in the afternoon, or like early evening, and so there's also no stress in just being tired after you've finished work. But milking the cows really was actually a lot of fun. I mean, it starts off with like having to get the cows to the milking station, um, which can be quite fun to. I don't know. We had a. It was. Uh, I don't remember what car exactly it was, but it was like a Land Rover. I don't know, a Jeep kind of type. None of those, but I think it was Suzuki. This is unpaid advertisement. I should stop. No, but just like driving around in a car on the pasture, like on the fields, and like trying to get every single cow. The trick is once you get like the I don't know what it's called, like the head cow. I don't know my terminology. No, but once you have like the boss moving, then everyone will follow. So kind of just like get the first 10, 15 cows to move in the right direction, and everyone will follow at some point. It's pretty easy, and then it's just like a little bit of patience and reminding them to keep moving from time to time. Actually quite fun, or like quite interesting, is that the cows will often enough also go to the milking state or try to get to the milking station by themselves, because they will feel like their udders are full, so they will want to get milked, I guess. Yeah. So that was quite interesting at times. Um, Definitely make sure to stay away from the bulls, because you will never know what they're up to, if they're having a bad day or whatever. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of poo going on. I will tell you that there's a lot of pooing going on, especially because like once you start making cows move, they are very frightful animals, and so one of their instincts is to obviously lose as much weight as they can, so they can run as fast as they can. And the easiest way for them to lose weight is is pooing. So that's definitely something that happens a lot on dairy farms, and also while milking. But the milking is easy. I mean, you have these suction devices, and you just apply them. And once you can tell that nothing is running anymore, you just have to bend the tube, so the airflow, the suction is cut for a bit, and then you can just take them off and apply it to the next cow. So that's pretty easy. That's I don't know, that took like just 5 cows to learn, and then it was just like doing it. Yeah, but afterwards, obviously, once all the cows are done, there's a whole process of cleaning it. So you have to get out the big guns and start washing down the entire milking station just to have it clean, and ready for the next round. Yeah, that was definitely quite the interesting experience. It was also quite a bit of fun. Um, yeah, I would definitely recommend if you are in New Zealand or wherever and you have the chance to, um, I don't know, also save a lot of money because you're not spending it on a hostel or a hotel or whatever. Um, yeah, definitely check out. It's called woofing. So I think willing workers on organic farms is what it's called in New Zealand. Definitely check that out. It's good stuff, and you meet awesome people while doing it as well. Yeah. The second question I was asked to talk about, cat hunt. Um, I guess this is also in some ways unpaid advertisement. Cat Hunt is a film that I'm gonna be shooting in a couple days. Next week, I think, is my first day of shooting. Um, yeah, it's written, directed, produced by a friend of mine from Berlin, and contact she contacted me last year asking if I wanted to help out, and act one of the parts, and I said yes because I don't know. It's the kind of thing where if you don't have anything going on, um, and you're interested in the project, there's really no reason to say no. That's kind of also with not just acting, but also like doing studenty films. There's so many people at the university who want to do short films and that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really good habit, good mindset to be like open for everything that's out there. And so this is uh, her first feature film. So it's going to be, I think, 1.5 hours is what they're aiming for. And so that is very, very exciting. And I'm very excited to be in on the project. Um, I'll have like five days of shooting. It's in Berlin. It's a neo-Western. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure what it's gonna be like. Obviously, I have the script. I've read the script, and that kind of stuff. But it's also the kind of thing where I'm not, as an actor, that much in the whole process of like what they're deciding to do, and the way it's gonna look and the decisions they've already made. So I'm very curious to have my first day of shooting and to be working with everyone there. Um, yeah, I'm I don't know if I can tell you more about it at this stage. I don't know where they want to publicize that, where you will be able to see that at some point. But I'm sure you will get updates if you follow me on social media, on my Instagram or stuff. You will definitely get some updates about that when I'm in Berlin and when it's getting close to being released and all that kind of stuff. Mm. The last question that I will be talking about today is, how do you follow your goals and deal with failure? This is great. This is a question my mom asked, so thank you for such a deep question. Uh, oof. How do I follow my goals? I guess part of that question, like part of the answer is you need to have goals, and that can be super challenging. I definitely know that is uh, hard, or was in the past hard for me to set myself goals, or like the question of like, oh, what do you want to do in, I don't know, after university and that kind of stuff. And I definitely struggled with the question of, do I want to become an actor or maybe do something else, because I guess the whole film industry, or any kind of arts, any kind of artistic job industry field is always connected to insecurities about making it, being able to support yourself or sustain yourself with the money you're gonna get or maybe not gonna get. And it's the same thing. It was exactly the same thing for me, worrying about not, I don't know, not getting the kind of financial stability that I would hope from acting. And so that's also why I started looking into different fields in the film industry, such as producing and directing. It has definitely developed from purely like, oh, what else is out there, to actually developing some interest in all the fields. And also, um, well, I do realize that, or I think, at least I believe for myself, that knowing about all the fields and having worked in them, or some kind of experience, some kind of insight in them, definitely helps me to be a better filmmaker in any kind of job that I will take on. So I have worked as a set runner, and that I think definitely makes me a better actor, not in the sense that I can act better, but in the sense that um, the way I treat people on set has definitely changed, because it's like people when a set runner comes and asks me if I want some water, or I don't know, anything, I'm happy to tell them, like, no, I can walk the 10 meters, the 15 meters, whatever it is, to get some water myself if I'm thirsty. And yeah, so I don't know, also producing, also directing, all those things make me think more about other aspects of filmmaking. Um, but yeah, how do I follow my goals? Um, that's really hard. I guess it is perseverance, and once you have set yourself a goal, especially in the arts, and you will hear this a lot, is like, go for it with all you got, um, with determination. Also, perseverance is important, like, because there will be so many setbacks, and it is very, very important to work through those, to not give up, because yeah, there's definitely going to be more rejections than um, people accepting. Well, I mean, in terms of acting, you will get way more rejections than you will get jobs, and so it is a matter of just like brushing that off and getting up on your feet for the next project to come. And yeah, because at some point you will, surely, I don't know. There's no guarantee, but at some point you will get something, and that's what you have to aim for and strive towards. And the second question is like, how do you deal with failure? Um, I think I've been quite lucky to, I don't know, have the experience of doing this for quite some time now. So I've definitely developed a kind of like, I'm okay with it now. And it is a matter of like realizing that there are going to be so many rejections, that it is not a big thing when you do get rejected. But I don't know, it's very difficult, because obviously you have to have some kind of like drive for every project that you want to do. You have to be so in it to win it. Um, and so like that can definitely get you in a mindset of like, oh, if I don't get this, it's gonna be the worst thing that has ever happened to me. Um, and that's the kind of thing that you want to do while applying for something, but that's also definitely something you want to get rid of immediately after you've applied. So like once the audition is gone, that's kind of like where when I start to really get out of it already, until I've heard back. So if there is a rejection, then I already have some kind of distance to the project. And certainly something that really, really helps is just to have someone there for you. yeah, to talk it through with someone. And it can just be like as easy as like, oh yeah, I got a rejection. I'm sorry, and that's kind of it. You know, someone else is there to talk about it if you need them. Um, you're definitely not alone, and they can also help pick you up. Um, yeah, I guess that's also a very good part about having a company with someone else, not just Jerry, but also Josh. Running a company with two people also means that I can always encourage the other person to do more. This is also follow your goals, definitely. I think Josh and I work very well together because, I mean, for one thing, I can only speak for myself, but Josh is amazing at pushing me to get work done. um, and so yeah, that's definitely he definitely sets goals for me, which is really cool because I wouldn't do them like set them for myself otherwise. And so like to have something to strive towards because of him is also awesome. Um, and I guess if we go down, it's like we're going down together. So wow, wholesome content. Damn. I knew this question was gonna be a big one. Thanks, Mom. Right. I'm already at half an hour, so I guess I will cut it there as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah. Again, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And I'll see you guys later.